Welcome back, friends. Last guy here. It's time for a new Kirby's Dreamcast. This is a bonus episode because we're going to talk about Starcrossed World. This podcast covers everything Kirby, at least eventually. That's the plan anyway. We are up to... I'm working on Kirby 64 as far as the games go. I'm up to episode 56 or 57 on the anime. Up to the 8th light novel. We're also doing a radio play for the first light novel. Eventually we'll cover the mangas. We're covering so many things Kirby because I want to cover everything Kirby. The plan is to be the guy who knows all the Kirby stuff, or at least knew it all at one point. Be my own wiki, that's really the idea here, so that you can hear it all here over the years. We've been at this for over 5 years, maybe 6 years now, and it's a lot of fun. Enough preamble though. So, Starcrossed World, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do non-spoiler stuff first, and then spoiler stuff, and theory crafting, lore theory, all that stuff, because there's some interesting implications here, specifically with Neichel and everything around her, when it comes to a lot of stuff. And then some of these theories are a little wild, and some are they kind of make sense. I have the game up right now, so I can look at the figures, and I'll talk about that in the second half. So first half, non-spoiler stuff, things I can talk about that were in the trailer and things like that. So we saw Astronomer Waddle Dee, there's going to be a plushie for that, I'm going to get that for sure. We saw Spring Kirby, Wheel Kirby, and Poster Board Kirby, those were in the trailer as well. No new powers though, they showed Starries, so I can talk about those. So the Starries are really cute, they're the new Waddle Dees that you save. The missions for those guys, some are pretty obvious and straightforward, some are not. Can be a little annoying. I had to do every stage at least twice, 1 or 2, 3 times. But when you get the missions, okay, those make sense, that makes sense, okay. Now, Astronomer Waddle Dee is a pretty fun guy, I like him, and then there's another guy who also is his buddy who helps you know where you missed Starry, so that's a cool guy too. What I was not expecting, which I should have seen coming, was the gacha. This doesn't feel like a spoiler. Astronomer D whips out 2 new gacha sets because, the DLC's got a bunch of gacha stuff to look at, and that was cool because then we get even more lore, more information about more characters, and that's pretty cool there. Spring Kirby, such a creative design there. I really enjoyed the design of the stages with Spring Kirby. A lot of vertical there, so you have to pay attention to your shadow. That felt like a lot of fun. Wheel Kirby as well, the platforming on the wall just feels next level as far as platforming goes, because you just jump up and stick to things and go across things you can't stick to. Very fun there. I like the hidden level design. There's a lot of hidden bits here and there to find things. I really enjoyed that. What I enjoyed a lot about Forgotten Land is that they do that very well, where you're I think there might be something here, and then you find out there is something there. Under a waterfall, in a corner, maybe there's an opening somewhere in a corridor. Every time you thought there might be something there, because game sense, it was there, and that felt pretty rewarding. No new powers though, which is unfortunate. Oh right, so Poster Board Kirby, he does down here slides with that. That was a lot of fun. I kind of wish we got at least one new section for all the mouthfuls. We got new sections for some mouthfuls, but not all of them. We didn't get Flying Kirby, there was no new mouthful for that. But there was a section for Cone, there was a section for... This is spoiling a little bit. There's a section for all the other mouthfuls except for Flying Kirby for some reason. The Frisbee or whatever it was. It's about 12, 13 stages you get to do. They were pretty good designs, I enjoyed that. They are a bit recycling of older stages, but they also add more as well. And that was pretty cool, I enjoyed that a lot. And of course, no surprise, there's a new arena. And the arena was pretty cool. I like the surprises that were in there. And yeah, so there's not much to say outside of spoiling, I think. Basically, it's just a fun game. If you were on the fence about the DLC, I don't know why. I spent at least a good 7 hours on this. I wasn't really speeding through though. I was taking my time and enjoying everything. But a good 7 hours for $20 isn't bad. It's not bad at all. That's more than a movie, and a movie ticket is a lot of money these days. So, anything else to say before we go spoiler territory? One is just, it's worth getting. The new songs are pretty cool. And I'll mention this now. There are a couple new composers. There's Megumi Ohara, who has been around. She's the orange note. There's a new guy named Yuki Sato, which I don't recognize. He's the purple note. Then there's a dark pink note for, I forgot his first name, his name's something Sakai. There's a couple new composers, and that's really cool. It's cool to see new composers, and they were allowed to work on the DLC so they could really cut their teeth on some things. That's nice there. Yoshikawa, Ando, Shimaoka, and Okasawara come back with new songs as well, though, so that's cool. Random fact I learned, Kumazaki wrote the lyrics to Neichel songs. There's 2 new Neichel songs, so we get 3 Neichel songs here. And Kumazaki is the one who wrote them, which surprised me. I did not know Kumazaki was going to be the one who wrote the lyrics. But that helps with his hand in the lore there. I think that's everything to say non-spoilery and just interesting information. So now from this point on, it'll be spoiler stuff and lore stuff. And of course, the first thing I want to talk about is the boss. So just give it a couple more seconds for anyone to go ahead and pause this until after they they play the games. I'll see you in the next episode for those of you sticking around. Okay, first, real quick, the real hero of the game is gotta be Trader Waddle Dee, because oh my god, getting some of these capsules, it's so much easier with him. He's the real hero of the game. He's always been the hero. Now, let's talk about the stages. I really enjoyed a lot of the stages. I think the last stage is a pretty fun marathon. I didn't hate any of them. I think like the beach was a lot of fun. One area was a lot of fun. They were just fun. All the stages were fun areas. Nothing to complain about any of them. I just enjoyed them a lot. But okay, let's talk about the boss. Let's talk about Meteion Elphilis. What kind of name is that? So, from reading the figures, let's talk about Elphilis and Meteion Elphilis, and a lot of lore going, a lot of theory going on here. Actually, before we talk about that, talk about some fluff first. Like, looking at the figures you get in Volume 1 and 2 EX, you get to learn more about the wild forms of all the mini-bosses, like Wild Frosty, Wild Edge, Florina, and Wild Bonkers. How these guys just took to the island very well, while Florina's like, she's from here, and they're all together, and she's kind of embarrassed by the other three. But, you know, they're just her buddies now, apparently. And then we're learning that Bonkers became good friends with Mookie because of their bananas. King Dedede does feel bad. Like, you read the figures, he does feel bad about what he did to the Waddle Dees, which is good to know. And then, yeah, notes about the Beast Pack and them being friends and everything coming together. King Dedede and Meta Knight, their rivalry still lives on. And then, you know, the hardworking Waddle Dees. I love that figure so much. Kirby with the Starries, the big picture with everyone. Alright, so now let's talk about Meteion Elphilis. Okay, so what we learn, so let's go in order here. So, Neichel, Elphilis, Elflin, Meteion Elphilis. So, Neichel is very interesting because she apparently is a seer, or she was getting visions, at least in her dreams, which might be because of Elphilis. So, we learned from Elflin that he remembers Neichel singing before, from inside Elphilis. It was actually her singing that drew Elphilis to the Forgotten Land. That's very interesting. So, Neichel's song, Welcome to New World, isn't to welcome Kirby, of course, it's just a dramatic irony here. That's a song she made for everyone leaving the planet. Because that was meant to be on the ships, it's on all the ships to hear, so that when they arrive at a new world, it was to welcome them to a new world, so they could feel comfortable there. Her new song, the one in Starcrossed World, which is called Twinkling Star Showers, that's the theme song of this game. This is a song she made, and it comes out the day everyone leaves. And this is her singing about the meteor that it's coming to the Forgotten Land. It's coming to hit the planet. Oh my god, total figure count's 86. I should have seen that coming. It's coming to the Forgotten Land, and so, yeah, that song comes out. She chooses to stay behind. That's her second song that we hear. There's a third song, but I'll talk about in a minute. So, Elphilis gets drawn in by her singing voice. Elphilis shows up on the planet, attacks everyone because it's an invasive species. We're learned that there's two of these guys, that they came from the corner of the galaxy, and so Elphilis is attacking everything because that's what he do. And then he gets captured because somehow they were able to do that. They capture him, and they use him as a research subject to learn new researches, and eventually they learn teleportation and a bunch of other technologies. So that's a big deal there. That's why, who knows, these could be the Halcondran Ancients, these could be Waddles, I don't know. The belief right now is that these are the Halcondrans, or progenitors to the Halcondrans. Likely this is maybe the technology Halcondrans, or the Halcondrans before they became magic and technology. Because they split into two groups eventually, with Magolor being either... No, Magolor's not from Halcondra, he says that, but he still is influenced by the magic side of Halcondra. The technology side, we see influence of that on... with the Novas, that's all Halcondran technology, which is basically looks like magic. And that effect on Robobot with the Haltman Company. So, where am I? Okay, so they have Elphilis, and Elphilis, we know from some of the figures, would use their dreams to just see what's going on. Because they were always dreaming, because they were kept under sleep, so they would reach out through their dreams. And so potentially they reached out to their brother Meteion Elphilis, and by doing so, it also reached Neichel. So she got the visions of the meteor. There's also legends of the meteor as well, but we don't know when those legends are. Was that the legend that made everyone leave? or did it become a legend because she got the vision of it and everyone saw that there was a meteor coming? But here's the thing. So the meteor's coming, but the Starries kick in. The Starries come into the picture, they seal the meteor and push it off course. We learned that from one of the other figures, is that the Starries push it off course, and they were able to keep it off course for a very long time. Finally, though, it finally comes to the planet. Conveniently, Kirby's here when it finally happens. And it was meant to land in the last continent, where Elphalus was. But instead it lands in the sea, because the Starries knock it off course. Now here's the thing. If you play this with the DLC, like if you played a fresh new version, the meteor lands in the middle of the story. So that means all this stuff's happening, Kirby just got there, but now the meteor's finally landed as well. So Meta and Elphalus is finally there to rescue his brother, and he got knocked off course. So if you do it earlier, Elphalus is waiting to be rescued. You do it later, Elphalus is dead, well defeated and merged back with Elphalin, and so Meta and Elphalus is just too late for that. I think the canon way to take this whole thing, though, is you go through the story, Meta and Elphalus lands, Kirby doesn't deal with that yet, he's dealing with other things at the moment, goes and deals with Elphalus, and then goes and deals with the meteor, because then you've got the EX Cup Z. So I think that Cup Z is now cut out of the canon. ZEX is the one that takes it over, because Elphalin merges with Elphalus in both of those, but this is an even stronger version in the newer one, so you could say either one's canon or not, or you can say both happen anyway. It's just that Elphalin merged with Elphalus, and then this second version was just a powered up version that tried again, and is now completely in submission to Elphalin. You could argue that maybe. It's also interesting is their weapons, Ares and anti-Ares, because you read about that, it says that that's how Elphalus becomes the pure Chaos version, is by taking that weapon. So that's interesting as well. So yeah, I think that really makes the canon a little different there. So then Neichel, back to Neichel. So Meti and Elphalus, you defeat them. Their spear ends up with Elphalus. Elphalus uses that to become Chaos Elphalus. And then you defeat them, they merge with Elphalus. The last bit is Neichel again. So Neichel has a third song, where Neichel sings about wanting to be back with their friends or going to the next town. And they talk about teleportation. And so there's a theory there that eventually Neichel teleported away. And so, but what adds to that? And that is the Hell Room, I guess. So the Hell Room is interesting, because the Hell Room, when you find it, is playing Neichel's songs, but when you finish the Hell Room, it plays Green Tree Memories, which is from Super Kirby Clash. And that is a song with lyrics by a lady, but it's definitely not the same singer as far as we know. Well, as far as we know, it's not the same singer. They don't sound that much alike, although it is being sung very differently. So the theory here, now this is completely theory, none of this is concrete, it's just inference, is that potentially she got to the Super Kirby Clash world, the Kingdom Dimension, because we know dimension hopping is a thing. The Forgotten Land is potentially an Earth of a different dimension. Shiverstar is Kirby's Dimension's Earth. The Forgotten Land could be a different Earth. And then you've got the Kirby Kingdom, or the Kingdom Dimension, which is Super Kirby Clash, which we know Maglor ended up over there before coming back over to Kirby's dimension. So there's a lot of dimension hopping. Also, by the way, Elphalin does mention he has the power to open the portals now, the vortices. So Elphalin can go between Popstar and the Forgotten Land on command now. I'm hoping that means they've synced the time between dimensions, so that, well, we don't just lose Elphalin to time. But Elphalin hopes that we see them, they come together again in the future. There's a lot going on there, so much going on there. Very interested to see what the next mainline game will be because of all of this. Because Kirby Star Riders, of course, could take place at any time in the story, or it's just Air Riders. It depends. If Elphalin is an Air Rider, it's going to get crazy. Because then that means, of course, it's after the Forgotten Land. Just crazier stuff there. We'll see if that ends up being the thing with Air Riders, how that'll affect the lore. Now, because the way I do the lore, in my mind, which is everyone has their own canon. There's what we believe could be the main canon, but everyone has their own canon as well. And that is, my canon is, all of the games are relevant to the canon. Are they story? Are they what-ifs? I don't know, like, they're relevant in some way, and they all happen in order for me, at least. And I will go through the pains of making it fit that way, in my mind at least, and in the podcast. But it's possible these are all out of order. Like, it's possible Dark Matter Trilogy happens at this point, Elfland happens at this point, all these other things happen at different points. All we know is everything pre-Star Allies happened, though, because, of course, Star Allies brings them all there. There's no Elfland in Star Allies, so... And unfortunately, there's no Prince Fluff, which is so unfortunate, because Prince Fluff is before Star Allies. I guess he's busy being in a sock, I don't know. But I think that's everything to say there. I'm just very happy I played this. I'm happy this DLC exists. A lot of fun, and the lore is always fun to play with. That's the thing about being vague, is just, there's a lot of just theory crafting happening here. A lot of lore axing. And just, I'm sure there's someone who's very adamant about what the lore is. I don't know, there's no true guarantee, I feel, as to what a lot of these things are. But it feels plausible, at least, that's what it is. At least that's where I'm going from it. Now, everyone, please, YouTube comments, or just message at me on Twitter, because I still have that. I don't use that much, but I still have it. Yeah, you know what? No, just the YouTube comments. Go over there. Just go over there. Message me. If you don't like YouTube, then email me, I guess, at kirbysdreamcast@gmail.com. Or go to the Discord and talk to me, because we have the Discord as well. And you have the Discord. YouTube or Discord, those are the easiest ways to talk to me, I think, on what you think about the lore and where you think things come together. But yeah, that's where I think they come together, though, is. Or at least, a lot of this is what the game tells you, but the biggest stretch is Neichel ending up in Super Kirby Clash. That's the biggest stretch there. I think that's the only stretch, really. It's that, or she just stayed and died on the Forgotten Land, either of old age, or something happened to her, who knows. But the songs just make it sound like she teleported away. And that's why the song is unfinished. Because she was singing it, but then she's like, you know what? I found a way out. I'm gonna go. Because there's no one else here at this point. Or she took them with her. I don't know. But that is it. That is me just going over the DLC. I really enjoyed this game. So happy. I already said that. I'm a bit jumbled. This is less professional, but that's because, of course, like, this is raw. There's more raw. When we come all the way back around to this game in 10 years, I'm very curious how I will compose all this lore, and if future lore changes this. But we'll see. Will we get a Forgotten Land 2? Some new adventure with Elfland? Personally, Star Allies is my favorite idea of things, is just checking back in with old friends. Like, that happening again in the future would be cool. Like, maybe a 40th anniversary, I mean. Just checking in with everybody again, see what's going on with all these different characters. That would be fun to me. I know there's always want to do new things, but also just seeing how old things have done or gone is always good too, because every Kirby game is someone's first, and so everyone gets attached to these different characters, and getting updates on them is great. That's what I loved about Star Allies. Star Allies was an update on a lot of characters. Okay, so that's it. That's it for this bonus episode. Look out for other bonus things, like we're gonna put more of the anime YouTube version is gonna be going up. We're still working on that very slowly. Radio Play Chapter 4 is gonna be coming out at some point, either this month or starting next month. And then there'll be a new anime episode as well. So just so many things happening, so many different projects. I had fun, hope you had fun too. Share us with everyone who, well, knows Kirby so that they can enjoy it too. Thanks for coming by, and see you next time.